So tonight I'm privileged to have three gentlemen with very important experience on global geopolitics. Professor Vladimir Antwi is an international relations expert, former director of many places, the LESIAD, and also the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, where he's lectured many people. Prof. Antwi, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
You're very welcome. Good evening.
Great to have you. We also have Dr. Olayinka Ajala, who is a senior lecturer politics and international relations at the Leeds Beckett University. Doc, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me.
I also have Colonel Festus Abuaji, retired, a security analyst and a retired military officer. Colonel, good to have you on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. My regards to all my colleagues.
So I'll start with geopolitically how unprecedented these times are. It will seem to me as if the international order is being rewritten. And by international order, I mean what we've known since 1945. United Nations, World Bank, IMF, US being the main power competing with Russia, Europe being their main allies. It appears all that is gone. China is supposedly the second competitor to the US. The current administration in the US seems more friendly to Russia. Their language towards Europe is not very clear. Africa seems to be caught in the middle. Let me start with Dr. Olayinka. Is it fair to say that the geopolitics of the world is being profoundly changed, particularly with the second coming of Trump? And to what extent is that happening?
Yeah, you're right that international geopolitics is changing. And I don't think it should catch any one of us by surprise. And I have two reasons for that. When you look at Agenda 47, which is Trump 2024 manifesto, the whole issue of American first was clearly defined there. And two key issues from that document, which I'd like to highlight, the war on drug cartels, whereby Trump specifically stated that he promised to deploy all military assets on drug cartels. And then the second one was asserting control over energy resources. He promised to bring down oil prices, and he promised to control the price of oil as much as possible globally. And then the other one is the Trump National Security Strategy, which came out last year under 5 main headings. And the key one under that is the flexible realism. And all of this come under the American First agenda. So all of these things fit into U.S. national security strategy going forward. So it shouldn't catch us by surprise.
How different is the Trump approach to previous U.S. approaches? For example, some would say that Biden and Obama, to an extent, sort of were interested in being the world's policeman, even though it was always America first. It wasn't as explicit. They also felt that the rule-based order, respect for international institutions like the UN and some of these treaties were very central to the foreign policy of the Biden and then Obama administration. How different is Trump from what has happened in the US? And number two, is Trump the main reason why global geopolitics is being rewritten?
Trump is quite different from the previous administrations of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. And I referred to the Trump National Security Strategy, which was published last year, 2025. And the first agenda on that strategy is hemispheric dominance, which means Trump is more interested in regional dominance as long as it suits American interests. It's clearly stated that he's not interested in being world police. Now it is more of what favors America, what are the key issues, even if it is at odds with the interest of its allies. We can see the way Europe or European leaders are being treated, or the way they perceive to be treated by the Donald Trump activities. So the moral doctrine is very key to all of these things that we are seeing. And I think we're going to be seeing more of these. In relation to the other question, in terms of, I think strategically, America is going to continue to pursue its own interest. We've seen that in the West We've seen that again also in Africa as well. You mentioned the attacks, the Christmas Day attack in Nigeria. Personally, I think this is one of the ways in which the United States is trying to reassert itself in the geopolitics of West Africa and the Sahel, trying to collaborate with Nigeria, trying to show that they are still a force to reckon with. But all of this still come under the American force. And just a couple of days ago, we heard that the Nigerian government received some deliveries of American military equipment. All of these are to protect the interest of the U.S. In the region one way or the other through seeking alliances and realigning its interest, especially since losing the drone base in Agadez. So we will continue to see this in the years to come.
All right, later on I'll come to the Nigeria question because Kennel has written a paper on regional security at the brink, U.S. distributing its footpaths following the expulsion from Niger. So let's park in Nigeria for a while. Let me come to Prof. Antwi. So opening question around how unprecedented we are in terms of the geopolitics of the time, based on the same premise I asked Doc. In your view, how different are these times geopolitically from maybe what you taught us in the early 2000s and the mid 2000s?
Well, thank you for the question. Basically, nothing has changed. It is the style and the depth of things. It is the same American policy, foreign policy of America first or American dominance. What has changed is the personalities involved. Normally when you have a person like Obama, you mentioned Biden, they were pursuing almost the same agenda, but with a different caution or that kind of thing. But the rascality of Trump is such that he didn't give a damn to the methodology he uses. The main thing is that the empire is dying. The dollar's weight in world affairs through the petrodollar issue is coming to an end, one way or the other. China, Russia, and the BRICS are now showing the way where American influence through the petrodollar is waning. And it must come back, as Doc mentioned, through the Agenda 47 and the issue of hemispheric dominance. If they are able to control Venezuelan oil, and Venezuela has the largest deposit of oil in the world, so if they are able to control, then they will force oil prices down one way or the other. Two, they will get people to buy oil in dollars and to maintain the dollar dominance. So it's a strategy to pursue the same American agenda. I don't see anything different. The difference is that this one is ruthless, careless, and more devastating in the sense that it is drawing the world towards a war. I was looking at this thing and I'm saying that earlier wars in the world have been have been closer using the same methodology. If you look at the First World War, the Second World War, the irredentist attitude of the leaders, their domineering character, the way they wanted to view the world, how they pursue pursue things that make them unique. Of what use would America try to save Iran from what is happening there? And they think that when they bomb the people and kill many more people and change the regime, then they have done something better for the world. It is unthinkable. Or the 25th December thing in Nigeria. What has it changed? Killing innocent people in order to change Nigeria. So it's a matter of muscling up and to show that they want the world to listen to them, even though now they are weaker. Greenland, I mean, come on, give me a break. And we see that it is to cow down Europe for Europe to come down to talk. And Europe is chickening out. They are now starting to talk. When they should have given a bluff to the Trump administration's efforts.
Let me deal with the first thing you said around is the same policy by different actors. Some may argue that actually not necessarily the same policy. So for example, Europe has been a traditional ally of the US. Now, even in the Ukraine war with Biden as president, the language of Washington was very clear that Russia was the aggressor. With Trump seems to blame Europe for the war in Ukraine. Number two, the language of his national security strategy that Doc referred to in 2025 seems to see Europe not in the same cozy terms. It doesn't even identify Russia as a strategic enemy. It then sort of creates three strong countries. It basically talks about US, Russia, and China as the strong military powers. So it appears to me that the Trump administration is rewriting even the rules of international cooperation. So I'm not sure it's just the personality. It's also yes, America first, but in a more, in a less reverent way, and compromising old alliances. That's how some people see this, Prof.
Well, they may be right. I see it in a different light. If they need Europe for pursuing America First agenda, they would go for it. Now they can see a docile Europe which they don't need, because they have given Europe the umbrella for so long a time. When they were going in for Noriega, they didn't need Europe. When they were going for Allende, they didn't need Europe. When they needed Aristide in Haiti, several other places that they have gone and disturbed the peace of the people and taken whatever they wanted, they didn't need Europe. They only need the bubbling Europe to support one way or the other. And so clearly Trump is going in for what he thinks is good for America, the white supremacist kind of thinking, America first, white supremacist way of ruling the world. It happened during the First and Second World Wars. And that's why I am more concerned. Because what is happening is that if what we saw in the Second World War, where the idiot called Hitler, made white supremacists or the racism the cornerstone of his onslaught on the world system. And clearly you started off by talking about how the system we have known from 1945 is dwindling or dying. Clearly, if multilateralism dies, we'll go to a third world war. And it's dying because Trump has put a wedge in multilateralism. He doesn't respect the rule of international law or whatever it is. He doesn't respect it. And that is the last straw for us, because it happened in 45, it happened in 1918, 1945, it happened again when the League of Nations couldn't hold. Now the UN system, because of the anarchic nature of the world today, the UN system is also dying completely. And that is where we should be more concerned.
Let me ask Doc whether he thinks the pattern of what we're seeing suggests a third world war, because of course in the Second World War, US almost entered reluctantly at the end because they were attacked by the Japanese, Pearl Harbor and the rest of it. Doc, would you say that when we look at what's happening and what Prof has said, you agree that the signs of a possible third world war are on the wall, or you wouldn't go that far?
Personally, I won't go that far because I think all the major players understand that a third world war will be very devastating. When you look at the weapon of mass destructions these countries have amassed and the capacities. Just last week, Russia used a super hypersonic missile just for the second time in this war, and the whole Europe, they quivered. They were like, what exactly is going on? This can reach the whole of Europe, and this is a missile that can actually carry a nuclear warhead. So I totally agree with Doug that yes, the international relations and international organizations are failing, and we are tending towards anarchy. But I'm sure that even the countries are also wary of a total collapse, because it's not going to be in anyone's interest.
Let me talk to you about the Europe situation. So what Trump has done in Venezuela is not that unique, because as Prof pointed out, Noriega was taking Allende, Aristide. All of these guys on the Western Hemisphere have faced a certain US interference based on the Monroe Doctrine. But for the US to say they want Greenland right now is supposedly in alliance with Denmark, which is a member of the NATO, right? So if the US does annex Greenland, some people say that will be a direct sort of attack against another NATO member. As we are speaking, I'm told that some European countries are thinking of sending a permanent military force to Greenland to serve as a deterrence. So my question is, this US-Europe rift and this envying of Denmark, how serious is it, and how will it rewrite the traditional Pacific Atlantic alliance we've seen for the past 80 years?
Yeah, we can see what is happening in Europe right now. It's a big dilemma for the EU, for European partners of the US, as well as for NATO. Because when all these things happened, it happened within a 72-hour period. On one hand, they were praising the capture of the president of Venezuela, Maduro, praising that. But on the other hand, they were very, very measured in their response to the issue of Greenland, because they didn't want to upset the United States. And so it's a dilemma for them, because you cannot justify one based on the issue of morality and then claim international law for the other one. So I looked at the statement of most of the European leaders and NATO. Some of them, it's a big dilemma. There's no way you could justify what is happening in Venezuela under international law. They then began to use the issue of morality. The question is, who is the judge of morality? Who is the person to say whether this is moral or not? So they have a dilemma on their hands. On one hand, they don't want to upset Trump, and rightly so, because for too long, Europe has turned itself to a welfare state. Rather than defending themselves, building their military infrastructure, they depend so much on the US. So when Trump came in his first term and insisted that they had to increase their defense spending, they thought it was a joke. But now they are saying that the whole of Europe, despite sending weapons and supporting Ukraine, they've not been able to push back Russia, and Russia is gaining more ground every day. So they understand the fact that if the US decides no longer to support European security, then they are basically almost defenseless. So on the other hand, trying to use the issue of international human rights law, international law, you cannot justify one and then condemn the other. It's either you condemn both or you accept both issues to say, well, maybe the US has faulted in international law based on the capture of Maduro, and then it shouldn't or it can't go into Greenland. But you can't, on one hand, support that on the basis of morality, and then on the other hand say, don't take Greenland. It's a dilemma in their hand, and it's something they are trying to tread really. But I don't see, for me personally, I think there's no win-win for Europe in all of this.
Professor Antwi, so how irrelevant is Europe becoming geopolitically? That's question number one. And question number two, after World War II, we had a bipolar world where you had US, Russia, until the Cold War ended, where US became the dominant power. So my question to you is, are we in a multipolar world, a bipolar world, or unipolar world, looking at where we are today, Prof. Antwi?
We were nearly at the brink between the Warsaw Pact and NATO. And gradually, when the Warsaw Pact imploded, that is when the Soviet Union imploded, America erroneously believed that it had won the war. And therefore, it started two things. One, American invincibility was to be shown. And two, the whole world must be Christian or must be baptized into democracy. These are the two policies that they have pursued up till today. And now it's biting back at them, because there is a clash of civilization one way or the other. The forceful nature of America's thrust into the world with their democracy and with their domineering character is balancing back at them in all facets, because they have used coercion, diplomatic coercion, and all forms of sanctions, etc., to cow down the whole world. And it looks as though, as China and Russia got out of the cold, they are rather now beginning to reassert themselves. And this reassertion is irritating to Trump, especially when the dominant dollar is in recess now. And people are now going to trade, seriously trade, outside of the dollar, including even Saudi Arabia, which signed agreement with the US in 1974 for the petrodollar, the dominance. So these are some of the issues that are aching and itching Trump to want to bring America back to dominance. But the methodology is wrong, extremely wrong, in the sense that it puts everybody in a quandary, especially Europe. Europe, like Doc said, doesn't know whether to support unequivocally or to play whatever it is. But to play footsie in this international kind of jigsaw geopolitical game cannot be. My fear, as I said, is that if this international system collapses, that is, the multilateral system collapses, there is a possibility of a war. Supposing China takes Taiwan today, for me, it will be even be legal, because there is no document that shows that Taiwan is a country, a sovereign country. In 1973, when Taiwan was taken out of the UN and the main China was made the main representative of China, it was agreed that Taiwan remains a component of China, but two systems. So why is it that now we treat Taiwan as a sovereign country, sending $11 billion worth of arms and ammunition to Taiwan? China can have that legal right to take over their island. And then Russia would not allow American dominance everywhere in the world. You saw what happened in Syria when Russia rushed in with heavy equipment to support Assad. So it is that today there is a possibility that anything can. Russia has a big presence in the seas of Greenland. If they also go in to protect their turf, like they did protect Crimea, we are going to see turbulence in the geopolitical game. And that is my fear. That's my biggest fear.
I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'll draw Colonel into the discussion, because we are bringing it a bit closer home. On Christmas Day, the U.S. announced it had attacked or helped to attack certain terrorist positions in northwestern Nigeria. The Nigerians frame it differently. We'll find out what this means for us in these parts and other matters of concern. This is The Point of View. Stay with us.